All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Fast Five 2011. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I was disappointed. This was supposed to be the best one out of the 10 so far. There's going to be 2 more, but I'm only watching 7 to determine for a Karate Man if this is overrated. And so far I've watched 4 and I've watched most of them. And the answer is yes, it is overrated. This is a Police Story ripoff. It's not really like any of the previous 4 in that sense. I like the police corruption and the explosions. And the action was pretty decent. I didn't like the Dwayne Rock Johnson character. Dwayne Rock Johnson. Did I put his name in there? I think I did. Dwayne Rock Johnson. Should I put Rock in Rock? I never watched the WWF, which is now the WWWF. After the 80s, I got sick and tired of it. I lived with my grandfather, and I just lost interest. I was caught up in college stuff. No more. So we're going to do Dwayne. I just stopped watching. There was no more Mid-South wrestling. It became the UWF, then it became defunct, part of Jim Crockett Promotions, I guess. I don't know. Everything happened so fast in the 90s. I didn't really care for wrestling anymore. There was no more Bruiser Brody. I love that guy, Bruiser Brody. Anyway, Fact 5, also known as Fast and Furious 5 or Fast and Furious 5 Rio Heist, is a 2011 action film directed by Justin Lin and written by Chris Morgan. I thought the Chris Morgan, Justin Lin, Brian Tyler team did a much better job on Fast and Furious 2009. This one is the sequel to Fast and Furious 2009 and the 5th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. The film stars Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto and Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor. My coworker told me that this was the best one out of the 10. So I had high hopes for it, but I didn't like it as much as she did. And the what was I going to say? Oh, I can't remember. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, Paul Walker. She said Paul Walker is dies in the next movie, the 6th one, whatever that's called. It's called Fast and Furious 6. That's the one where Paul Walker died in an off-site car crash, ironically. Okay, it's alongside Jordana, Brewster, Tyrone Gibson. I can't stand this guy, Tyrone Gibson. He's annoying. The guy with the ejector button. All right, Chris Ludacris Bridges. He finally decided to get a haircut. He chopped off his afro. Matt Schulze, who was in the first one. Sung Kang, who was in Fast and Furious 2009, and Dwayne Rock Johnson, also known by his ring name, The Rock. Terrible actor. Stupid plot, as usual. This is mindless entertainment, by the way, which is normally good for a Karate Man film, but not so good for overrated Fast and Furious. In the film, Dom and Brian, along with Dom's sister Mia Brewster, plan a heist to steal $100 million from corrupt businessman Herman Reyes. Almeida, who was in the first one also, I think, while being pursued for arrest by U.S. Diplomatic Security Service, DSS agent Luke Hobbs Johnson. What is U.S. Diplomatic Security Service? I never heard of this thing. Anyways, some rent-a-cop in Brazil? What's he doing there? While developing Fast 5, Universal Pictures deliberately departed from the street racing theme prevalent in previous films in the series to transform the franchise into a heist action series involving cars. By doing so, they hope to attract wider audiences that might otherwise be put off by heavy emphasis on cars and car culture. Fast 5 is considered the transitional film in the series, featuring only one car race, giving more attention to action set pieces such as brawls, gunfights, and the central heist. I thought the action was pretty decent in this one. It's really the only reason to watch, besides the Brazilian police corruption providing cover for this Almeida guy, Herman Reyes, corrupt businessman. So there's a police corruption element in there if you look closely. I have no idea what Rock Johnson is doing there or where his Vin Diesel seems to have this magical ability to transform police officers and government people into bad guys. He does it with Paul Walker and two other people in this one. His family nonsense. And Paul Walker and his girlfriend have a illegitimate child. She's pregos. And Vin Diesel, who's a fake Catholic, he's got a crucifix around his neck. He's not even Catholic. He's probably Protestant, but he's got this crucifix around his neck, which means nothing. So naturally, he approves of the out of wedlock illegitimate child. He says, "Oh, now we're a big family," and he hugs them. By doing so, they hope to attract let's see. The production mounted a comprehensive marketing campaign with the film being advertised through social media, video games, cinema chains, automobile manufacturers, and at NASCAR races. So gets another PG-13 rating, although The Rock says the F-bomb in there. And you may be asking why I'm all dressed up. I'm on my first Saturday of reparation. And my second day of fasting and my first confession in 2 months. And I got to do the 45-minute rosary later. Father Joseph did an open letter to the Pope. That was kind of interesting. I wonder if he read it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my church. Everybody's scared of the changes coming down from the Pope. And so naturally what Father Joseph said is just pray. but I brought up a couple of thorny issues. The possibility that the Pope is not the Pope. The Catholic, what is it? The Catholic Campaign for Human Development. That's another thorny issue. And then there's Trump, who claims to be anti-abortion, but he supports abortion for rape, incest, and the health of the mother, and he supports gay groups. And then there's all the gay priests out there that nobody cares about. My son doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear it. So I'm sure I ticked off a bunch of churchgoers at our parish, not the least of which Father Joseph. And I'm going to have fun doing my confession today. Because it's Father Sony, the guy who believes in evolution, and Bishop Barron. Oh, man, this is going to be tricky. But I think I can do it. I got away with it with Father Mike, who's kind of he says Vatican II is, there's nothing wrong with Vatican II. So he agrees with my son, Father Mike. Anyways, enough about Catholicism. Where was I? Lynn, Diesel, and Walker's returns were finalized in 2010. Principal photography began that July and lasted until that October, with filming locations including Atlanta, Puerto Rico, and Rio de Janeiro. Brian Tyler, the composer of the previous two installments, returned to compose the score. He did a good job. The soundtrack sucks. The film is notable for primarily featuring practical stunt work as opposed to CGI. We like that. But this one wasn't as dark as the previous one. I don't know. It had a different vibe, man. Fast Five premiered and it was, everything was happening so fast, it was hard to follow the storyline, if there was a storyline. Fast Five premiered at Cinépolis Lagoon in Rio de Janeiro on April 15, 2011, and it was released in the United States on April 29th by Universal Pictures. The film received positive reviews with praise for Lynn's direction, the action sequences, and the performances of the cast. I didn't care too much for the performances. It is widely considered the best film in the franchise. Fast Five grossed $626 million worldwide, becoming the seventh highest grossing film of 2011. The then highest grossing film in the franchise, and set several records related to Universal's highest grossing opening weekend in several international markets. It was followed by Fast and Furious 6 in 2013, which I have, but the bonus features have been vaporized by Netflix. And that is my final Netflix disc. Tomorrow I should be able to sign up for Amazon Prime. Free 30-day trial, plus I'll have Tubi or Not to Be, which doesn't have as good of a selection, but virtually every one of Karate Man's recommendations are, well, I take that back, not virtually everyone, but all of Karate Man's recommendations are on Amazon Prime. So the former coworker that I'm going to confess about, who told me to vote for Trump, even though he's pro-abortion, pro-gay lobby. I should have corrected him. and I should have converted him over to Catholicism. It was my moral duty a few years back. But he was the one who told me that Amazon Prime had a great selection of movies. I think he wanted me to watch a Roger Corman movie, some science fiction nudie. And this guy calls himself a born-again Christian. Oh, man. Anyways, these are people that I run into at work, man. They're more confused than Catholic people sometimes, these Protestants. Anyway, as Dominic Toretto is being transported by bus to Lompoc prison, his sister Mia Toretto and friend Brian O'Connor lead an assault on the bus and they free Dom. While the authorities search for them, the trio escapes to Rio de Janeiro. None of this is very likely to happen, and Vin Diesel just jumps out of his car on the freeway, and he doesn't even have a scratch on him. Awaiting Dom's arrival, Mia and Brian join their friend Vince and other participants on a job to steal 3 cars from a train. Brian and Mia learn that the agents from the DEA are on the train and that the cars are seized property. Oh, here we go again. What's it called? Asset forfeiture law. When Dom arrives with his accomplices, he releases their leader, Zizi, who's only interested in stealing the Ford GT40. Dom has Mia steal the car herself before he and Brian fight Zizi and his henchmen, during which Zizi kills the DEA agents. Brian and Dom are captured and brought to drug lord Herman Reyes, the owner of the cars and Zizi's boss. Reyes orders the pair interrogated to discover the car's location, but they escape to their safe house. Another unlikely escape. Dom, Brian, and Mia are framed as the murderers of the DEA agents, and the U.S. government sends a team of diplomatic security service agents. So don't bother to extradite them. Just send Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his Kevlar and his riot gear. I hated that character. I hated Tyrese. I hated The Rock. Everything besides the action and the police corruption in Brazil was interesting to me. Was not interesting to me, I should say. Anyways. Led by DSS agent Luke Hobbs and assisted by local officer Elena Nieves to Rio to arrest them. I don't know if any of these characters come back for the 6th one, but I'll figure it out when the time comes later today or tomorrow. While Brian, Dom, and Mia examine the car to discover its importance, Vince arrives and he is caught removing a computer chip from it. He admits he was planning to sell the chip to Reyes, and Dom angrily forces him to leave. Brian discovers the chip contains financial details of Reyes's criminal empire, including the locations of $100 million in cash. Hobbs and his team arrive at Dom's safe house, but find it under assault by Reyes men searching for the chip. Brian, Dom, and Mia escape after a chase across the Favelas, which looks like the shanty town of Hong Kong in Police Story. Dom suggests they split up and leave Rio, but Mia announces she is pregos with Brian's child. Not only did they start getting intimate after the first date. Not only did they reconcile at some point in this film series, but he got her pregnos off camera without even bothering to court her or anything. They just he just got her pregnos. No betrothment, no courting, no dating. It's just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Dom agrees to stick together, suggesting they steal Ray's money and to start a new life. Oh, their family. They're going to cook a barbecue where the Brazilian dude burns it, burns the barbecue ribs. The Brazilian rapper dude, whatever his name is, with the funny accent. All right. Budget $125 million, box office $626.1 million. So the budget and the box office keep going higher and higher for the series. They organized a team to perform the heist. Han, Roman, Tej, Giselle, Leo, and Santos. To centralize the cash, Dom's team attacks one of the locations and he burns the money in front of Rayo's staff. Oh, that'll get him riled up. Why did they do that anyways? None of this movie makes any sense. Reyes consolidates the remaining money in an evidence vault inside a police station. So after afraid of further attacks, and he also puts a bounty on the heads of these people. Dom's team does surveillance. They buy equipment. They acquire Reyes' handprint. Don't ask me how that happened. The Japanese dude and his girlfriend are just kind of sitting around, and somehow they got his handprint. I didn't follow. I must have missed that. Anyways, after their fastest cars proved to be too slow for security cameras, they steal 4 210 Dodge Charger police cars to blend in. Vince rejoins Dom's team after saving Mia from Reyes' men. Hobbs' team eventually finds and arrests Dom, Mia, Brian, and Vince while transporting them for extradition to the United States in a Gurkha LAPV, which looks like an armored vehicle, a tactical armored vehicle. Why does Rock Johnson have to look like some dude from Iraq? Anyways, the convoy is attacked by Reyes' men. Dom, Brian, Mia, and Vince help Hobbs and Elena escape the ambush, but the rest of Hobbs' men and Vince are killed. Enraged at their team's death, Hobbs and Elena agree to help with the heist. The gang breaks into the police station with the LAPV and uses 2 of the Chargers to tear the vault holding Reyes' money from the building, dragging it through the city. There's a really crappy scene where the 2 Brazilian dudes explode the men's room while this dude's sitting on the crapper. The toilets just shoot up raw sewage from some bomb that they detonated in the sewer pipe. Anyways, advancing on the bridge, after an extensive police chase, Dom has Brian continue with him while he smashes the police and Reyes' vehicles with the vault. Brian returns and he kills Zizi. Hobbs arrives and he executes the injured Reyes in retribution for his team. Hobbs gives Dom and Brian a 24-hour head start to escape on the condition that they leave the vault as is. Why is The Rock making all these concessions? Why is his Brazilian partner becoming friends with Dom. I don't understand any of this stuff. Why does Vin Diesel have the ability to turn people in from good to bad? Can somebody please explain this to me? My coworker said it was all about family. So everybody that Dom runs into is part of his family? What is this? Anyways, when Dom and Brian depart, however, Hobbs finds the vault empty as Dom's crew switched it via a trash truck before they reached the bridge after splitting the cash and giving Vince's family his cut. Dom's team go their separate ways on a tropical beach. Brian challenges Dom to a final no-stakes race to prove who is the better driver, which is off camera. Just like the sex that led up to getting her pregos, because this is a PG-13 movie and they have to limit it to 130 minutes. So this one's shorter, thankfully. Distributed by Universal Pictures. Release date. We talked about that. Yeah. And then there's a mid-credit scene with a familiar face in it. I won't talk about that. But we like Jordana Brewster and her suit eyebrows. Too bad none of these people get naked like Devon Aoki. The central cast is rounded out by Puerto Rico singers Tego Calderón. He's the dude that burnt the ribs. And Don Omar as Leo and Santos, respectively. So you got two Puerto Rico dudes in Brazil. Members of the heist team reprising their roles from Los Bandoleros, which I have not seen because Netflix didn't send me the disc. I'm so glad I'm getting rid of Netflix. And Fast and Furious. Michael Irby plays Reyes' right-hand man, Zizi. Alimi Ballard, Fernando Chien, Yorgo Castantine, and Jeff Meady portray Hobbs' team members Fusco, Wilkes, Chatto, and McCroy. How many guest appearances are on this film? The list of actors is just way too long, and they spent too much money on actors who don't know how to act. Luis da Silva portrays Diogo, an elite Brazilian racer who challenges Dom and Brian to winner-takes-all race. Michelle Rodriguez appears in photographs as Letty Ortiz, Dominic's girlfriend, who is presumed dead following the events of Fast and Furious. Eva Mendes appears in an uncredited cameo as Agent Monica Fuentes, reprising her role from Too Fast, Too Furious. That was the mid-credit scene that I was talking about. I guess I spoiled it. Oh, well. By February 3rd, 2010, it was confirmed that a fifth film referred to as Fast Five was going into production in the Fast and Furious series, and that a sixth film was being planned. It was confirmed that Diesel, Walker, writer Chris Morgan, and producer Neal H. Moritz would all return to the roles for the new installment. Moritz said that following the success of Fast and Furious 2009, which had reunited Diesel, Walker, Rodriguez, and Brewster from the original film, the production wanted to bring them back again for the next one. Diesel felt that the story between the characters portrayed by himself and Walker should continue, envisioning it as 3 chapters, of which Fast Five would be the last. Diesel also wanted to bring back a variety of characters that have been in previous films without interacting, put them together, and have a lot of fun. That's the formula for the $125 million budget right there. The production had originally intended to film on location in Rio de Janeiro. However, the Puerto Rican government offered tax incentives totaling nearly $11 million, influencing this decision to film there, using Puerto Rico to represent Rio de Janeiro. Universal intended to transform the series from street racing action into a series of heist films with car chases in the vein of The Italian Job and The French Connection, with Fast Five as the transitional movie. I thought it was more like Police Story, this movie. But what do I know? I'm just going by the shanty town in Puerto Rico that was supposed to be Brazil, I guess. In April 2011, Universal chairman Adam Fogelson said, "The question putting Fast Five and Fast Six together for us was, can we take it out of being a pure car culture movie and into being a true action franchise in the spirit of those great heist films made 10 or 15 years ago?" 10 or 15 years ago? What heist films are those? Okay, I'm confused now. Fulkerson said that the racing aspect had put a ceiling on the number of people willing to see films in the series, and that by turning it into a series where car driving ability is just one aspect of the film, he hoped to increase the series audience. Lynn wanted to explore the elements of freedom and family in the film and collaborated with Morgan towards that ideal, both having worked together on previous installments of the franchise. Morgan worked with Diesel to produce a story arc that would further explore and develop Diesel's character. An idea involving heisting a large safe had been conceived by Morgan during the production of Fast and Furious, but that film's demise did not work, and how Morgan envisioned it, he later incorporated it into Fast Five. For me, each chapter of this franchise is an extension of the first one, and they each get bigger. It's always a privilege to be able to revisit a good character-driven story. This franchise is more than street racing and tuner cars. It is really about this larger family and community of racers, which is what my coworker said. I still don't get it. I still have issues with this film. I could go on for another hour on the Wikipedia page. I'm just going to end it now. I got my confession, how-to guide. I got all of my sins listed on the back. I'm ready to go to church. And I'm going to end this Netflix DVD thing. I won't be able to show you DVDs. I won't be able to tell you about the bonus features. But then again, Netflix stopped sending me bonus discs, and they vaporized my ability to click on the bonus features on these two discs. So it's a sign of the times, going away from DVDs, bonus features, and getting into streaming, just watching movies, and that's it. So hopefully I'll be able to put up more of the reviews up quicker, because I won't get bogged down in the bonus features. But at the same time, I'm going to get bogged down in Renegade, because I'm only halfway through the first season. So at some point, probably next week, I won't do any movie reviews, because I'll just be for a few weeks, because I'll just be watching Renegade the whole time. So that's the plan. Thanks for sticking around, and have a great weekend. I got beef stew in the fridge, but I put too much onion in it. So I just doused it with some beef beef stock or whatever. All right. So I'm going to pig out on that. Maybe some ice cream and some popcorn when I get back. Hopefully my penance won't be like an hour of adoration, because I can do that tomorrow, but I don't want to wait. I'm just going to do my 45-minute rosary after church, and hopefully that will suffice. Laters.